thing about all the things you told me about how life was so hard. But what do you remember about what life looked like and felt like before?
I don't even want to think about it because
Oh, you're kidding.
it gives me anxiety to think about what we were living prior to this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just the other night, I had a brief memory of what our nights used to look like. And it would be, I would start thinking about it right around 4:30 at work. And I would think, oh God,
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna have to deal with this tonight. I'd get home around 5:30 or 6, and Corinne may or may not be in the room with him, holding him, and she may or may not come out. We didn't know when he was going to wake up from the nap, and we didn't know when he was going to go back to sleep for the night. But whatever the schedule was for that day, I knew that I had to take over for my shift at around 10 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
9 or 10 o'clock. And, the shift would start then.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just wait to get to 2 o'clock, and you remember he'd wake up anywhere from 2 to 10 times between 10 o'clock and 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it was every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So traumatic, like just traumatic. There was no escape from that, right? It didn't matter if it was a 3-day weekend, a holiday, a weekday, or whatever. That's what our life was. And it was bad. There was no schedule whatsoever.
No free time. No free time.
No free timing. We didn't see each other at night. We would see each other passing in and out of his bedroom.
Right, on the split shift, right.
On the split shift, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy. It was just crazy.
Right, and you guys are both full-time working professionals.
Yeah.
So, once you walked out the door in the morning, you both went your separate ways with your intense schedules. And then, like you said, the minute you walked in the door, she might have already been disappeared for the night.
Yeah.
And then you might cross over at 10 and 2 or not.
Yeah.
And then out the door you go again.
Yeah.
7 days a week.
7 days a week. Did not matter.
Mm-hmm.
And, at the time, it didn't seem like there was any end in sight. It was one of those like kind of hopeless and depressing, for me anyway,
Mm-hmm.
feelings that, is our life ever going to be normal again? Do we have to do this for another 18 months or 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
What happened here?
Right. And what gave you, when do you think your breaking point was where you were like, you know what, we need help. Like we can't stay in this anymore.
Gosh, the breaking point was probably when we tried to do something about it at 4 months and we hired that other sleep consultant that didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And that really put a bad taste in our mouths.
Mm-hmm.
When we attempted that and it failed, I just accepted the fact that this is just how it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to put him through that trauma, ourselves through that trauma of him crying for 2 hours and not falling asleep.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just have to suffer through this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
so you kind of had to take a break and kind of go, okay, well, that didn't work. But I definitely, and I'm still in my same miserable place, but I know I can't do something like that. And so then you kind of had to get the courage to kind of keep exploring solutions.
Yeah, I belonged to Facebook groups about sleep training. I kept researching online, Yelp, you name it. And then I came across I think I came across the Gentle Sleep Coaching site, which led to you.
Right.
And I think I sent you an email and you called me immediately that day. And, as soon as I talked to you, I thought, this is it. She's the one. But if you remember, we had an initial consultation. Mm-hmm. We were going to start the sleep training and that got derailed too. Mm-hmm. So it took us probably a good 3 months from the first time you and I spoke until we finally implemented something.
Right.
At least 3 months. which in retrospect was probably the right timing because he wasn't ready.
Yeah, he wasn't ready
for any of this stuff to stick and be effective. So,
right.
yeah.
And I think that, you know, that the readiness of the baby is paramount.
Yeah.
But the readiness of both parents is equally important.
Absolutely.
And I think by the time that we, you know, because we'd been communicating and, you know, discussing start dates. So you knew you were in process, you knew you had options, you knew you knew that you'd maybe found the right person to assist you.
Yeah.
But then we needed kind of the readiness of the baby to match up with the readiness of the parents, to match up with the work schedule, so that we could have that focused attention on working together over the course of, I think, you know, it took us about 4 weeks, if I recall, to really do the nights and the naps. And that in those 4 weeks, because all those things had aligned, we were, you know, in the zone, right?
Yeah.
Completely in the zone. And so we were progressing every day, progress, until we got to, you know, the Holy Grail, which was everything on your wish list. Which, you know, for you guys, you know, mom got to go see Hamilton. And go out on the town in San Francisco and live it up and go to a fancy dinner and all of that, knowing that our baby was home safe and sound, sleeping. And then you guys got to go on that trip to Tahoe and enjoy the outdoors, not freaking out that you're going to derail everything, you know, right? So maybe you can talk about that.
Right. I mean, the freaking out part, I still do.
Yeah, it's okay.
But you know, he's proved time and time again that there's really no reason to freak out. I think it's just my reaction to such a long time of being in that miserable space that I'm so protective of it. You know, if it wasn't for Corinne, I would be happy to never do anything outside the routine until he's like 12. I don't care. Because I love the fact.
It's so peaceful. It's such a peaceful routine.
I mean, I can count on the fact that at 7:30, he's going to sleep without any protest. And I can go to bed and wake up at 6 o'clock and not have any issues in the middle of the night. You know, like I'm totally fine with not ever going anywhere as long as I have that, you know? So my wish list was small.
Right.
Remember, I said, if you can get him to sleep for 3 hours at a time,
I know.
I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be ecstatic.
So what must you look like now, right? I mean,
right.
I
mean, because our bar was so low, and he was so good about like crushing our dreams every time we tried something that nothing's going to work. There's no way. Even when I talked to Alicia and Nick, I remember thinking, well, lucky you, your kid's great. It worked for you. It's not going to work for us. Your kid sounds challenging, but I don't think she's as challenging as Jacob was. But, you know, the process worked really within a couple days. The first night was rough. The second night was less rough. The third night, he dropped one of his 2 feedings. The fourth night, he slept through the whole night, which is crazy. I would have never, ever dreamed of that. You know, because I remember I told you I'd be fine if he woke up 3 times a night. That's manageable to us. 3 times a night, that's no big deal. That in a 2-hour stretch sometimes, you know. So waking up 3 times a night would have been perfectly, that to me would have been success. And the fact that he's sleeping from 7:30 to 6 a.m. it's crazy.
Right. And taking beautiful naps.
Yeah, he's napping on his own.
And you said, I think you told me that he loves his crib, like he reaches for his crib at bedtime.
He does. He really does. I mean, I think he feels that it's a comfortable space.
Yeah.
You know, because he'll wake up sometimes around 5:30, 5:45.
He's happy.
He's in his crib. He's not complaining. He's sitting around, you know, playing with his pacifiers and his levy, and you know, very, very, very rarely does he sit up and cry. I think he's done it once.
Yep.
Woken up.
And so how, beyond just like having a, harmony in your household and having confidence that your baby's getting everything he needs, from, from his beautiful sleep skills, and also everything he needs in terms of, getting beautiful consolidated sleep for health and development. What else do you think it's given you or Corinne, in terms of like beyond the family unit, like more focus at work, more, picking up a hobby you had forgotten about?
Definitely. I mean, all those things. I'm back to riding my bike at least 5 days a week. She's back to running.
That's great.
And we're back to watching shows and relaxing when he's down, and eating dinner peacefully and not having that worry. And most importantly, like enjoying him more when he's awake.
Yes.
Because when he's asleep, we actually don't see him for 10 to 12 hours, and we miss him when he's asleep. So there's less, for me anyway, there's less resentment, there's less anxiety, there's less stress. And I'm the type of person who thrives on predictability. And we had before had zero predictability. And that was really, really hard for me to accept and live with. And now that we have that, there's a lot less stress and anxiety. So, yeah, I mean.
Yeah. And I'm like that too. I mean, that's really, I'm very much, predictability means a tremendous amount for me.
Yeah.
So I definitely relate to that feeling that at 4:30 p.m. you're like, oh great, what's tonight going to look like? Just the dread.
Yeah, it was dread. I mean, that's the word. It was pure dread every night. Yeah. And that's gone.
I know. It's so good.
So